Well, this is also the wonderful June solstice, which is always a powerful time. And during solstices and equinoxes and other opportunities such as eclipses and things that occur during the year, the solar logos, which are literally the beings of light from suns beyond suns, are given portals that through the alignments that allow them to project more light into the physical plane. And as everybody is well aware, we are in the midst of a very unusual and actually unprecedented time on the planet. And at the beginning of this year, the beings of light said that with the birth of 2020, which also occurred in the midst of a eclipse series, that we were creating a new gateway that would allow the earth to bring in higher frequencies for the patterns of perfection for the new earth, so that this decade we are going to be able to tangibly experience the heart-based patterns of the new earth anchored and manifesting in the physical plane in ways that we have not before. I know many of you, like myself, have been working toward this for decades, and we've been holding this in the arms of light and this trust and this inner knowing and faith that these patterns would be manifesting in the outer realm. And when we had doubts or questions, the beings of light kept reminding us that we are multi-dimensional beings functioning on myriad levels of consciousness simultaneously, and that the physical plane of Earth is the least real of all of the dimensions that we abide in. And it is the very last dimension to reflect the changes. Well, now from the birth of the new earth, which really took place during the solstice, December solstice, the 21st and 22nd and 2012, we have been moving now toward this cosmic moment. And now in this new decade, we are going to be able to consciously manifest the patterns of perfection in the new way. And the beings of light told us at the beginning, during that eclipse series, that they had been given permission, literally a cosmic dispensation from our Father, Mother God, the cosmic I am, all that is, to intervene in humanity's lives because of the heartfelt calls and invocations of those of us embodied on earth. They have been given permission to intervene in ways that have never before been attempted. And all we need to do is observe the unfolding in the outer world to see we are certainly in a world and in a moment that no one has experienced before. And the forced timeout that we have been experiencing on a global level and is creating the sacred space for literally a planetary reboot into higher frequencies of the heart-based patterns of perfection and divine love for the new earth. And this timeout has given the God Self, the I am presence of every person, the opportunity to raise the consciousness and to awaken within us the knowing of the oneness of all life. So these things are being pushed to the surface. Anything that conflicts with the oneness of all life, anything that is creating separation and duality, the us against them consciousness, which includes poverty and greed and all of the abuse of power and things that we're witnessing in the outer world. In addition to prejudice and the negative behavior patterns that we are witnessing that reflect hate or distrust or anger or frustration with each other in any way. So we are having the opportunity to awaken to the oneness of all life. This weekend, there is a concentrated expansion of light, because not only are we experiencing this June solstice, so the solar logos are bathing the earth with unprecedented frequencies of light. All of that is being greatly empowered with a new moon solar eclipse and the full momentum of this eclipse series that is a threefold eclipse series, which is unusual. The first full moon lunar eclipse took place on June 5th, and this one on this weekend, tomorrow and Sunday, that will be a new moon solar eclipse coordinated with the solstice. And then on July 4th, we will have another full moon lunar eclipse that will seal and expand this incredible awakening. So what we're going to be sharing today, Lorianne, as we have talked about, is this magnificent frequency of abundance. And we're going to talk about that because the beings of light have been telling us for a while now, since we birthed the new earth, that the most important and critical frequencies and patterns of perfection that from the new earth that need to be anchored and manifested in the outer world to kickstart this literal transfiguration that is occurring are the patterns from the golden frequencies of God's light that reverberate with abundance and eternal peace. And something that we are remembering and understanding is that these two aspects of divinity, abundance and eternal peace, that reflect through the golden rays of God's fifth dimensional crystalline light, are inseparable aspects of God's pure light. We cannot manifest in our lives the infinite abundance of God without eternal peace, and we can't manifest eternal peace without every man, woman, and child receiving the divine birthright of God's infinite abundance. So we're going to talk about that today.
And thank you so much for that. So the most important frequency to anchor here from New Earth is that golden frequency of abundance and God's light. So anchoring it is simply invoking it and calling on it. And that's what we're going to do. So that is beautiful.
That is correct. The universal law is the call for assistance must come from the realm where the assistance is needed. The beings of light have been telling us for decades to pay attention because cosmic moments come and cosmic moments go. And what they mean by that is during a cosmic moment, such as the one that we are in this weekend, open portals of light that bathe the atmosphere of Earth with frequencies of light specifically designed to assist in the awakening and the shift of consciousness of the masses of humanity. But since these energies cannot just bathe the planet and voila, transform our lives, because we are responsible for creating the discord in the outer world. And in order to transform it, we are responsible for invoking the light to transform it. So that's what's meant by the call for assistance must come from the realm where the assistance is needed. But because we are one and there is no separation, if people in the physical plane invoke this light through our heart flame and breathe it into the physical plane of Earth, then it is available for every man, woman, and child, every particle of life, the elemental kingdom, the angelic kingdom, and Mother Earth herself. So the more of us that will invoke this light, the more powerful and available it is in the outer world. So this is one of those cosmic moments when we have an unprecedented opportunity. And as I mentioned, this activity of light this weekend is shifting the consciousness into higher levels of oneness and helping us understand that there's no such thing as us and them, that we are one. And what that means on a very tangible level is that literally every particle and wave of life throughout the whole of creation is interconnected, interdependent, and interrelated. Every son and daughter of God that has ever been breathed forth from the heart of God still lives, moves, breathes, and has its existence within the divine matrix that is that all-encompassing presence of our Father, Mother, God's body. So each and every one of us is part of that collective whole. And that means, and this is mind-boggling when we first really begin to grasp the magnitude of it, but it means that every single thought, word, action, or feeling we express, with every breath we take, depending on our frame of mind and the energy that we are putting in to that creative faculty of thought and feeling, is either adding to the light of the world and all creation, or it is adding to the shadows and the pain and suffering. And this is true for every person on earth, regardless of how oblivious we may be to that, and regardless of whether we are deliberately or inadvertently sending forth these frequencies of our thoughts and feelings. So we are responsible for the thoughts, words, actions, and feelings. And we are either helping, or we're part of the problem, or we're part of the solution. So it literally is not this tremendous, complicated thing that has to happen. It's a slight adjustment in our awareness to realize that we have the ability to add to the light of the world, depending on how we feel and think and handle every single situation that's occurring in our life, moment by moment, day by day, with every breath we take. And the reality is that light is infinitely more powerful than the fragmented, fear-based consciousness of our human egos. So the beings of light have said that several people coming together to invoke the light on behalf of the masses of humanity can transmute the discordant negative thought forms and behavior patterns of hundreds of thousands of people in the twinkling of an eye. So when we accept responsibilities such as this moment, it is an opportunity beyond our comprehension. And this year, the company of heaven has been given permission to intervene and amplify our efforts in ways that have never before been attempted. So the beings of light want us to understand, and I'm going to share this with you. I'd like to just have you go within the divinity of your heart and set aside any preconceived notions about poverty or lack or limitation. We can observe the outer world and we can see all the greed that's taking place. We can see the abuse of power, the inequality, the suppression and oppression that's taken place. But I want us today to transcend all of those concepts so that we can truly see the bigger picture of what is absolutely happening, that will empower us in ways that the beings of light have been revealing to us for many decades now. So for first and foremost, our life experience is reflecting our consciousness. So we are not the victims of circumstance, but our collective thoughts, words, actions, and feelings from all time frames and dimensions, from all of our earthly sojourns, are reflected in what we're experiencing here and now. So there's no such thing as a victim in this overall process. Even though we have forgotten our past lives, we haven't understood how we've gone through things, and we look like, if we're a child born into dire poverty, we look like certainly we are innocent and not in that situation. However, the bigger picture is that we volunteer to come into the learning experiences that will help us transmute our past misuse, and misunderstanding. So the only way that we can manifest lack and limitation in our life, regardless of what the outer appearances are, is that if we have created it through our various lifetimes, through poverty consciousness. Now, poverty consciousness is a belief in lack and limitation, and that there's not enough, and that we have to struggle to survive and to have enough to feed our bodies and put a roof over our head and to exist. But what the company of heaven is revealing at a greater level to help us understand the magnitude of what is happening is we set about to try to change outer appearances. But if we don't change that consciousness of poverty, that belief in poverty, then it's like trying to change the reflection in a mirror without changing the object that's causing the reflection in the first place, which is our consciousness. The beings of light have said, if we took all the money in the world and divided it evenly among every single man, woman, and child on earth at this moment, without a shift in our consciousness, in 5 years, all of the rich people will be rich again, and all of the poor people will be poor again. And that's regardless of what created that in the outer world, because people might look like totally innocent in that situation, and that they're in dire poverty because of situations that seemed like it was beyond their control. But it was the poverty consciousness that believed that they were not worthy of abundance, or that had bought into some of the misinformation that has been programmed into us. For instance, there are a lot of awakened, powerful light workers. Now, I've been around for a very long time, and I've been doing this work for a very long time. And from the beginning, over 50 years ago, the beings of light said the greatest need of the hour is for humanity to awaken to the profound truth that God's infinite abundance is our divine birthright. And so when you look at all of the light workers in the outer world, very often, and for decades I've observed this, people that are working with the light that know that we are creating our own reality, that expect that we are to receive the infinite abundance of God as part of our divine birthright, are still struggling to put food on the table and a roof over their head. So the question is, why is this happening when we believe that we can open to the flow of abundance? Well, the beings of light have said that the reason it is happening is because we all on a spiritual path at this time have etheric records and memories of lifetimes that we have gone through for a very long time that have gotten us to this particular point, so that we can do the unprecedented, incredible work that we are all being asked to do, and that we have volunteered to do and been prepared and trained to do during this cosmic moment, which is including standing in the focus of the light in the face of any adversity that manifests in the outer world. And so we've been through all kinds of religious traditions and life experiences, and we've been taught that poverty is somehow a virtue. And we've gone around in our saffron robes with begging bowls asking for food, and we've taken vows of poverty and vows of celibacy, and been taught that the Bible says money is the root of all evil, and that we can't get into heaven if we're rich any easier than a camel can pass through the eye of the needle. So we got this miscommunication that somehow it's not okay to be abundant and to have prosperity. And so now that is being cleared up. The Bible does not say money is the root of all evil. The Bible says the worship of money is the root of all evil. And we can certainly tangibly see that. Beloved, Jesus gave his information and his parables in metaphors, but he communicated in the language of the people that he was speaking to. And unless it was a parable that was cloaked and veiled for a higher level of understanding, he spoke very clearly in the language of the people he was communicating with. And this concept that a rich man can't get into heaven any more easily than a camel can pass through an eye of a needle, we've been taught, well, of course a camel can't pass through an eye of a needle, so that means that a rich person cannot get into heaven. But Jesus actually taught that there were walls around Jerusalem at the time to save and to protect the city. And that in the morning when the traders would leave, they would take their camels through the eye of a needle, which was an opening in that wall. And it was a small opening so that people couldn't just invade through that opening. And the camels would have to crouch down and scoot through the eye of the needle. The traders would go out into the world and then come back after their missions with their camels laden with all of their earthly goods. And they could not pass through the eye of the needle until they unloaded those earthly manifestations and collective kinds of consciousness, the material things, and they got down and went through the eye of the needle. So Jesus was simply saying, when we are wealthy, we can't take it with us. So those misinterpretations, the etheric records and the vows that we have taken have gotten us to the place where we really have this push and pull within us that we want the freedom of God's infinite abundance. But somehow at a subconscious level, we feel that we can't be spiritual and have God's infinite abundance. Well, that's what needs to be shifted. That's the level of consciousness that needs to be shifted. And the beings of light are sharing very, very carefully this truth. And I'd like to have you just hear this and accept it as food for thought. You know, I don't ever want anyone to accept anything as truth just because somebody's told you it's so. But listen to this through a new level of clarity, asking your I Am presence to blaze the flame of divine truth through this information so you can sift and sort through it, but so that you can grasp the magnitude of why poverty is so prevalent in our lives.